Okay, hey Dale.
Hey,
We're back for round two.
I know, right? I know. I like rolling up my sleeves to get ready.
Okay, so
Um,
this is I guess a video testimonial interview number two. We've done number one already after our first session, but the sessions keep getting better, and the things you are doing as a result of them are getting better, like more intense.
yeah.
Okay,
Just bigger. Just bigger.
it's bigger, which
Bigger.
is which is the point, I guess, when you're looking for a shift in your life.
Yes.
So I guess, where do we begin? Okay, so if we sum up the first session, it was really about interpersonal dynamics, and we started off with starting to like set up or correct certain ways in relating in your interpersonal dynamics.
Mhm.
And then it went like bigger into an organization that you were involved with. So
Mm.
what do you want to say about that?
I don't even know where to start to explain it.
Well, also, again, what was the issue that you wanted to, tackle with me in the second session?
Oh my goodness, we tackled so many things in the second session as well. It's not just one thing.
Yeah.
Well, maybe let's start backwards. We'll start from the result. So
Yeah,
I've
let's do that.
start that way around.
What's
We'll
the
tell
result?
so many things. So I've been, just for a bit of context, I have been working for free in an organization for more than 2 years, definitely, and then 3 years have just been in it. But from the first session into the second session, especially with what we discussed was putting value back to where it belonged, and that is the building block for everything else in your life to either work or not. I realized very quickly that the organization that I was in did not hold me at value at all. And I also realized that in that space, and what we discussed and how you helped me to see that that whole structure was very corrupted for the intention that had started to be what it wanted to be. And also realized that my
Telling you it
system,
was.
yeah, I also realized my system was trying to reject it the whole time, but I didn't realize that that was what was happening.
Right.
So I
And
know,
that's
right?
that's a form of conditioning.
Mm,
And
very
it
much.
also it's prevalent in marketing. They play on knowing what a person wants and desires and needs, will frame their proposition with that front. But
Mm.
when you get there, you're
Yeah,
like, hang on, no, can't
that's not
be.
what I signed up for. Yeah, it's like what I realized most of all in these past 2 weeks, that the minute that you have a pure heart in something, you are more easily taken advantage of. Because you always are trying to put your heart in the right place and thinking about everybody, except that it's not serving anybody for you being in that space.
Yeah,
Um,
like a catch-22. And that's also another sign of like how organizations will use the pure of heart against you
mm,
because it's in the service of the greater good.
yes, and they'll always throw that at you.
Yeah.
So they'll be like, "You're not for the greater good," and then you'll be like, "But I am, but this doesn't look like it for you because it destroys what you've used to keep people trapped in that place."
Yes.
Um, and so it's very interesting 2 weeks. So I resigned from the space, and I explained why I really thought that that space was not supportive to anybody,
So
not just
how soon after we had our session did you resign?
2 days. The thing is that I already knew on the Friday.
That was
I
the
did.
day we had our session, was that
That's the day we
Friday?
had our session. And then on the Saturday and Sunday, it was just me. Like I could feel my subconscious trying to just put the wording down for it. And I
Yeah.
basically gave myself 2 days to set the wording. I could have sent it on Friday, but I
Yeah.
don't think it would have been as potent or precise.
Yeah, you needed to process that. You were basically in those moments of processing. This is what we call processing time. You were basically like, unconsciously I knew it, but now, because what was happening was you're consciously what you were sold into, what you were consciously using to keep yourself there, and your body and all the other feelings that were coming up from underneath the surface, trying to break through that conscious disparity. So you basically had to, like, it was basically bridging what your conscious beliefs were with what you already knew. That's basically what I helped you with. Break those kind of like those knots.
Well, I have to tell you this I think is the most, this is probably one of the most, like, the biggest things that I realized. So as I sent in, so I have been struggling with like back pain on and off pretty much. I can't even remember when I didn't have back pain. I sent the resignation letter in at like 3 o'clock, just past 3 on Monday. And I woke up on Tuesday with no pain, and I have not had any since at all. Zero. Like, in my body, it's completely different story. So I was just like, yes, and thank you, and thank you, and thank you for that. Because like, it, like, how connected those two states were, it just like blew my mind so much. In that, because I mean, like, lower back pain, what do they say? It's always like feeling unsupported. And the minute that I was able to support myself really strongly and quite like fortified.
Warrior channel.
Like,
where's your backbone?
I have it.
And the warrior channel is the channel of resources, relationships, boundaries, space, in other words. Your physical space and being, your space around you.
Very much. That was one of the coolest things. So what happened was, because of the space that I held within the community, it was a very public separation.
Which was the stake.
Yeah.
Was at stake?
Yeah, that was at stake the whole time. And what it did was, actually, I knew it was coming, because I knew that would be a space. I had witnessed people leave before and not quite understood what was happening. And now, going through the process myself, it was interesting witnessing myself feel so different with all the same actions that would have crushed somebody before.
Yes.
Me experiencing it, I mean, don't get me wrong, there were a bit of wobbles because I'm like trying to integrate this information, but like, the knowing that has pervaded through all of it has been a really, like, a strong anchor point for me to be able to hold this change.
Yeah. And that's where you trust yourself more, and your self-belief and your own self-worth actually comes up, where those points, if they weren't something that you acted on, would become vulnerable again. Yes. And you would fall back into distrusting yourself, doubting yourself, yes, not having your own back.
Yes. And like, been in that space for years. So like, yeah, know that very well. So as the dance started to come up, we're like, oh, I know these moves, and now we can change them. Which is, it's been super magical. Oh my goodness. Okay, so kind of fast forward, resigned. They got really scared and deleted me off all the groups that I was on. Also in the space, refused to give some property back, which I secured back. And also had to deal with other people Pardon?
That was a power play on their end.
Yeah. And also dealt with some other people that I was trying to return their property to, that were also just trying to bully me, which was the really interesting part. But also, because I knew they were trying to do that, I was like, oh no, oh, look at them go, that's so fun. You carry on, I'm going to go do other things. Which was quite nice.
And you ruin your whole day, and you didn't have to worry about, oh my God, all the things that we usually would do instead, very cool.
So there was a show that I was meant to perform in on the Friday night, which I did not retract myself from, because it's actually the piece that had come, that was being presented on Friday, was actually my idea, which was actually taken from me and monetized without my permission. And like, it's because it's one of those moments when somebody says, oh, I've taken your idea and I've made it this thing, and everybody praises them for such a beautiful idea, but they never actually disclose who actually set this up, which is very interesting feeling space. Anyway, so went to the show to perform for the last time, and the actual energy in the space is what I had really wished for everybody, which was this beautiful healing space of burlesque dancers telling their stories to support the community and everybody. And we had very different acts that were going to go up, but what I found the most potent, a friend of mine performed and I performed, but we didn't realize that our stories had run very parallel ways. At the same time, I have somebody that I've coached in the audience, and her daughter is actually performing with my friend.
Oh,
wow. That whole evening has this intensity to it, that obviously because people are mad at me, but also because there's this massive upheaval energy which is sitting in the space, which is like, it's so disruptive, but at the same time really necessary. Like, I think, like, you forget how important upheaval energy is to actually create something.
And that's usually the energy that people want to avoid and label as confrontation. It's actually just tension of the truth being exposed.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So what happened was I went on and performed my piece. It was really intense because I walk on fully wigged up, beautiful makeup, heavy set corset that is so sparkly. Like, I look like the quintessential burlesque dancer.
Yeah.
And I am choking in that corset. I just want you to know, like, my insides.
I bet.
I know, right?
What a metaphor.
I know.
Being constricted.
I'm so constricted, can't breathe, can't even breathe. Walk onto stage and I do my piece. My piece is basically me taking all of that off as I explain the story. And I take off my makeup and the whole room goes like pin drop quiet. It's like the most like intense situation, but no one can take their eyes off of me. And I take off my wig and I take off the corset, take off this big silk gown, put on a white t-shirt, take off my bra, like flash dance style. And I'm sitting there with just myself to finish off. And then I finish and I exit and I walk off stage. And it was just like this moment. I was like, oh my God, it's done. But also like my walking in and I'm shaking, like I can feel things are just releasing. Like, and then I realized I started to pull myself together, and my friend goes on, and her mother has experienced abuse before. And the person, my friend, has experienced abuse as well. And she created a piece that basically had, she sang to her younger self with words painted on her of like worthless and ugly and dirty and all kinds of things that people had said to her when she was young. And how she had changed, and the wording on her is completely different from like valued and beautiful and all of these things. So they sing to each other, but as they start to sing, I just realized that they need support, and I feel strong enough to do that. So I step into the room and I can almost feel the tangibility of holding the energy with my hands in this space. And I'm standing there holding the room, and I realize I'm too high up, so I have to get down low. So I'm sitting on the ground holding the air, like as they're singing to each other. The whole room is busy disintegrating. People, men and women, are crying. This woman coming into her energy. And I had a similar kind of experience with some of the things that I said. And as soon as the energy shifted, I could lift and stand. And as they came off stage, she had 4 women, her mother, which is who I had coached, kind of like had a moment of, she had done so much work on herself to end the cycle of abuse so that her daughter would never experience it. And she witnessed her daughter witnessing her of how she was in that abusive state. And she could feel the energy of that passing through her. And she realized she was not having to hold it, it was going through her for her mother. And so as these women came off stage, we all grabbed each other. So all four of us sitting in there and our bodies shaking, like tremoring.
Amazing.
And the person that I had coached, the mother, looked at me, she said, "You ended a cycle of abuse for us tonight."
Yeah.
And I could barely keep myself together, because like the intention of that space was to have this beautiful, powerful healing process for anybody that was there.
Regardless of how it was exploited.
Regardless. Like that still came through, even though that was what happened. And I realized in the moment for me as well that I had also ended a cycle of abuse for myself. Because that was, it was.
You know what? Sometimes, you know, depending on the nuance of a person and what they're working through, we like leaving without the business being finished in the space isn't always the correct remedy. Sometimes you have to show up as that different person in the same space. That actually is the thing that breaks the cycle. So that makes 100% sense to me, because it's not about your conditions. It's not about the circumstances. It's about how you shift yourself within those circumstances, regardless of those circumstances, breaking the psychological hold we think those things have over us. So yeah, that is fucking powerful, Dale. That's how you move in the world as a person who has their own back. I love that. Thank you for sharing this beautiful experience.
I was actually I was telling my parents yesterday, and I was saying that I wouldn't have been able to have this process if I didn't have your insight into it for me. Because the insight that you bring for the shift that needs to happen, I mean, people can do the shift by themselves, but it's terrifying. It's terrifying if you don't have somebody. It's just somebody walking alongside you,
holding the space, right?
Holding the space, literally.
It was my pleasure.
You can make braver moves.
Yeah.
You know, that's the one thing. The brave moves is what changes things.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. Phew.
Yeah. That's not even the only things that have been happening. But that's the biggest one. That's the biggest one.
That is the biggest one. That is the biggest one. What are the other little things that you've noticed?
I mean, I think we spoke about this after the first session. My body feels completely different. It's like I've come back to a new body, and I'm still trying to learn the operating system.
Without referencing the old one.
Yeah. And you're just trying to okay, cool. So what do we do now? What do we like to eat? What's
Yeah, and you mentioned something about not being afraid of the symptoms that your body is.
So the way that I usually would have responded to any kind of body symptoms before would have been of complete fear. Do I need to go to the doctor? Is this something that will this be something that could potentially take me out in some kind of way? And it's allowed me in a really big way to soften to the information coming, because
hearing it.
Yeah. And instead of being scared of it, to actually be okay, cool. What are you actually trying to say?
Yeah.
What information is available to me here, instead of going, okay, this is actually just terrifying.
I love that. That's cool.
That's been massive as well. And also one of the most interesting things I realized as well, that there's a lot of energy that I was feeling coming at me that wasn't mine. And being able to discern that has been the biggest leap because
Danger.
yeah.
What's yours? What's mine?
Yeah, what's yours, what's mine. And in that what's yours, what's mine, it's like, I mean, I could feel like tangible shifts when I'm like, okay, is this mine? If it's not mine, take it back. And like I just walk around the day like that, and my body will feel a marked like relaxation or not, like between the states. And then I can hold myself again in really good. I realize that when it's not yours, it doesn't feel like you can hold yourself very well. But the minute it's yours, you're like, yes, I know what to do. Like
Totally. I love that. That's like the best summation I've ever heard. Because you know this because you just experienced it, and that's knowing. It's not like mentally rehearsed things to try to get yourself ready to deal with the situation. You're actually walking into a situation with a new lens and like, oh, so that's the difference in the experiences that I'm having. Right. This one feels far better. It feels right. It feels true.
Yeah.
Instead of that must be true, therefore distrust myself and throw myself under the bus.
Yes.
Just to fit in for whatever reason we may be rationalizing to ourselves. Survival mode.
Yeah. It's so super interesting because even with my partner, like he had a meltdown in front of me, but like I watched him melt and I looked at him and I realized none of it was mine. And before I would have been like, oh shit, like what are we gonna, I can't deal with this, like what are we gonna do? Like, and I didn't mean to, I didn't mean to, but I just burst out laughing. Like I was just like, wow, like this is hilarious. He was not happy with that, let me tell you. But like it was so funny because I could see where he was getting stuck. And also I knew that like I didn't have to, like if he didn't ask me, I wouldn't tell him. Like I'd be like, but I was just like, I know this is gonna look crazy, but this is hilarious. Like it's hilarious. And it diffused everything in the whole situation as well because I didn't take on
play into it.
Play into it at all.
Yeah, that's awesome. Love it.
Yeah, shame.
Very cool.
I don't think you really wanted that kind of feedback at the time.
But, you know, unless you're able to describe to him what it means, but yeah. And he'll get it. He'll get it because eventually it's a space for him to like not offload it onto someone else as caretaking what he's responsible for himself. And as a man, they'll really appreciate that space to actually figure it out for themselves. And, you know, then again, have the experience you're having by like, cool, actually, I can sit with my own stuff and I can actually self-regulate. Yeah. It's very cool.
Very cool.
Well, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to mention before we log off.
Yes, one more thing. There's what I found super fascinating, especially when you do these kind of steps, is that like people have no idea how to associate with you anymore.
Yeah, because you're not like taking on their safe, their survival projections, the thing that they return to for safety. It's completely unknown.
So people have been going like, you should be so upset. Are you okay? Like, and I'm like, oh wow, are we doing this? Okay, I'm fine. Like they're like, what do you mean you're fine? And I'm like, I've worked through a lot of things. I'm good. Like, but they have no anchor with it to be, because they would usually anchor you with like, we can combine sadness, therefore I care for you, or combined anger and therefore we care for you. I understand you, but because there's no anchoring points, it's like like this strange, weird, monstrous creature.
No, yeah, like totally. This is the difference. Like that's still warrior, victim, warrior channel. Victims like to commiserate and create collaboration and relating to each other in their problems, and to make something into a problem to be able to relate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's been many Instagram lives trying to take me out. Which is
one. Tell me about this.
I haven't watched it yet, but because I don't feel like it's necessary. But yeah, that would have flattened me.
You made an Instagram live though.
I did.
And then they made counter one.
Okay. Yes, counter one. That apparently states many things. Of like, because in the structure that's both like that, because obviously words like disloyalty and I know, right? What it basically, I haven't watched it. From the counts that I've heard from people that have watched it, has said that it has shown, what did they say? A lot of blind loyalty, and therefore is not constructive.
So basically they did some marketing for you, like free marketing for you.
Indeed they did.
Well.
My view shot up. I haven't checked it today. It shot up by 100. I haven't checked it for a good few days. Let me just check for you quickly. So when I posted the live, there were about 200 maybe views.
Wow.
We're up to 439.
Whoa. Okay, so what's next for you?
It is to really step into, because I mean, the thing is that, like, I still have a very pure idea of what I wanted to experience in that space and what I want to experience for myself. And I really believe that there are other people too that want to experience that.
Absolutely. People don't want to go, they don't want to be sold into something that's on the face of it says calls to the very reason that they want to do it. And then when you get there, it exploits the shit out of you.
Yeah. I mean, it's completely super interesting, because as I put in the resignation letter, also, I've just had ideas. Because
guess what? You're not managing bullshit anymore.
No, but it's also ideas of how to put together this new thing that I'm trying to establish and make happen. So like it's like all of those ideas are basically, it felt like almost they were waiting to not be in that space so that they could come.
Totally.
Because otherwise they would have been stuck in that space and didn't want to be there.
There's no alternative, and they weren't adapt enough yet to either create their own alternative or, you know, but I guess there's a need now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I've been, the one thing after my live went out, and then it intensified after the second live came out on Monday, how many people have been in my inbox just asking for, just saying that what I've experienced, they've experienced too, and they couldn't speak up about it.
Okay.
What I found super interesting, the band of professional dancers in that troupe have denied all that I was the only one experiencing this, but so the actual students have been in my DMs going,
yeah, because those people who are in denial, they have shit to lose. They're unwilling to have a look at the way you did it and risk it. And because they don't trust the fact that when you actually do that, there's actually more opportunities for you. They completely rob you of your individuality, your own ability to resource your own solutions and creativity. That's as far as the entrainment goes.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. And it's not something that you can't not come back from. It is. No. But it's gonna take breaking that conditioning and seeing what happens, like trusting yourself, like putting a lot of trust in yourself. So
huge. What I realized though is that it's super necessary to go through the process of it, because this expands and uplifts everyone, even though it doesn't initially look like that on the surface.
Exactly.
And we forget, I think a lot of the time we think that all progressions are these really pretty things that kind of like florally and like, oh, I love you so much. But I love you can also be like, this doesn't work.
Absolutely.
And that is important to remember.
So you got any projects you're planning?
Yes. Watch the space. I do.
So where can people find you on social media if they're interested in understanding a pure form of burlesque and performance and everything that has to do with self-expression, or at least the truer form of self-expression?
They can find me on Instagram at the Girl Dale, which is kind of my coaching page, but there's going to be a lot more stuff coming onto darling.cleo. So Cleo Darling is my burlesque stage name. And she's so fun. Oh my goodness. She'd definitely go out And then yeah, I'll definitely pop some stuff up on there as I go along, and as I make things clearer and clearer.
And speak up, speak out.
Yeah.
Educate people, inform them, because that's important.
Create and expand. The beautiful thing is, from what I've thought about so far, this doesn't, what I have the potentiality to bring forward is something that's much bigger than me, but will support the whole community.
Yeah.
Because
you actually have to give yourself away, or even position yourself as something to be perceived, which is what the school was doing, and also behind the scenes not be that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So many counts of that coming into my inbox, and some heinous things. I was actually did quite a start on some of the things that were happening in that space that no one knows about.
Yeah, I know, dude. And you know what, this reminds me of the actual session we did to clear the stuff up for you, in terms of the person who's holding that space for you. I had to really listen behind the conscious words you were using that unconsciously identified what you were trying to tell yourself but couldn't land.
Yeah.
And then I had to actually feedback that to you in forms of questions that actually finally broke that, the way you can communicate with yourself about it. It was amazing. And there was just this point of conscious discussion. And then there was a point where in the session I got an overview of everything that was said. And then it dropped, it dawned, and I was like, fuck, I know what this fucking is.
Yeah.
And then I had to feedback the questions, and it just zeroed in my focus once I realized what you were saying after I'd been listening for a while. And then the power went out in our session, and we need more time because I felt it was not complete. We were not done. And then I got onto WhatsApp with you and messaged you back and forwards, voice notes, messages, and the breakthrough came, the ending came through there, and I knew when it was done, and you knew it when it was done.
The moment that point dropped for you, I realized that you had got, you found it. And then I also knew that there was I didn't want to resist knowing either.
No, of course, you wouldn't have been there. You know the difference between people who say they want to know the truth versus those who don't.
Yeah.
They can trust themselves to trust me because they ended up in front of me. And it's like those women who are dropping into your inbox. They have a choice to make.
Yeah, and what I'm finding so beautiful, these are the most outcast, the most rebellious, also the most heart sore for having to leave a space and being shunned about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And supported about it.
Yeah, but then again, that's just the same lens that keeps them stuck there. There is that heart soreness, but at the expense of the opportunity you discovered that is there for you, which is actually in alignment with the performer's expression.
Yeah.
So that is how, getting back in touch with those values of yourself is what broke you out of that trap that wasn't true.
Very much.
Yeah. That's fucking potent, man.
So potent.
I appreciate you. Thank you for trusting me.
I appreciate you. Thank you for helping me. I've been joking with everybody. I've been like, this is how you escape the matrix. This is your step-by-step. Just how you break out. And people have been looking at me like I'm this crazy thing, but I was like, that's okay. I'm I'm almost out. Give me a chance. Getting there.
Yeah, now it's just about creating.
Yeah, that's the exciting part.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I feel this is pretty much complete unless you have any other last minute comments. Okay, cool.
That's all I got.
Alrighty, I'll chat to you in a couple minutes. I know we've got another session, so
cool. I'll see you later.
Thank you for this.
Thank you so much for this.
It's my absolute honor. Okay, see ya. Bye.
Yeah.